it's just a great perspective shift instead of thinking it as kind of like a weird little side dish. You can actually make main meals out of mushrooms very easily. Yeah.
Okay, now I've not done that myself, but I can see how that can happen, especially based on what she's telling us, and we're going to continue to learn from Rachel right now. We're going to switch over to Facebook Live, brought to you by Les Schwab. Remember that? And when we do so, we're going to continue to answer some questions, and if you have questions, you can ask them there as well. But as always, tight lines, shoot straight, please be safe out there. And Rachel, thank you very much for coming in.
You're welcome.
It was great to meet you.
Thanks.
Hey there guys, so some of you may have already seen this, but this last weekend I got the chance to go down to Portland and I was on live TV. Yes, I was incredibly nervous. I haven't even done Instagram Live or YouTube Live because it makes me kind of uncomfortable. But speaking of, if that is something you'd be interested in, me doing like a live session on YouTube, let me know, leave a comment. I may be bold enough to do that now. Anyhow, I got to be on the show called Outdoor GPS. It's part of NBC Sports Northwest morning broadcast on Saturday mornings. And so the rest of this video, that's what this is you get to see just the live Q&A session from that. So I hope you enjoy it. Also, my brother and I, before and after we went down there for this live broadcast, we did a bunch of filming and we have some awesome footage for you for an upcoming episode. It's a little bit different, but I feel like it's going to be super entertaining and really informative. So stick around and hang tight. That episode will be coming out, I don't know when. Let's be honest, I have no idea. Okay, have fun, enjoy, thanks.
When the professional that you're interviewing goes, that stands out. 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Facebook Extra, brought to you by Les Schwab. We are continuing our conversation with Rachel Zoller. She is behind, and her brother, come on, get out here.
Yeah, sure.
Are behind Yellow Elanor. And what we had talked about already on the show was wild mushrooms, and there's so much that you guys actually cover. There's nowhere near enough time in a segmented show to actually cover some of the info. But we covered a lot of ground, right? We talked about different species, this and that. But one of the questions I didn't get to ask you is info, right? On how you can figure out, okay, with this one, or this one, super yummy. What's the best way folks can kind of learn that they're not going to get themselves killed or tripping?
Okay, first I will tell you the worst way. The worst way is don't post a photo on Instagram and say, hey guys, found this in my yard. Anybody have an ID? Don't do that.
If it's growing in your yard in southeast Portland, I'm going to tell you right now, if it was edible, somebody would have already ate it. So no, you ain't going to eat it.
Right. I mean, that's not a bad idea to gain information as far as like ideas, but it's not going to give you what you need. So, getting an area-specific field guide is what you need to do. So, mushrooms of the Pacific Northwest is a fantastic one, and then also right here, mushrooms of the Redwood Coast. Okay, I know we're not in the Redwood Coast exactly,
but we're close enough.
But we're close enough.
Yeah.
And this book is new, and the photos are fantastic, and so it's just a really great resource. So. Local resources. So you got to go to. If you get something that's like mushrooms of all of North America, there are hundreds and thousands of species that don't grow here. They're going to have to muddle through to try and find an ID, and it's going to be complicated.
Right.
Yeah. So and the special things that we have here in the Pacific Northwest aren't going to be in those general field guides.
Because it's super regional, just like you mentioned.
Absolutely.
It's like because our sun comes up different, our seasons are different. It's not going to be like Colorado or
trees are different, elevations are different, and then if you are the kind of person that is like, I don't really care about all the cute little pretty things growing in the woods. All I want to know is what I can eat. So I think you were kind of like
I kind of mentioned that, yeah.
Yeah, maybe. There are books that are focused only on edible mushrooms. And
I got to ask this though. If you're in the woods running around looking for mushrooms, why in the world would you be looking for something you can't eat? Do you do that?
It's fun and it's beautiful and it's wonderful.
So you're enjoying the rest of the opportunity.
I actually, when I go out, to me, like kind of my mantra in my head is, it's not just what I can eat, it's what I can learn. Okay. Because if you're noticing the details in other things, you're going to notice the seasons better. You're going to notice associations, because there's some of these mushrooms that grow in association with others. And if I can ID the others, I can find these edible mushrooms too. Or there's like these really large genre of mushrooms, hundreds of species, and if I can recognize those just off the cuff, I know nothing in that genus is good or tasty. I can just walk by it too.
Gotcha.
So it all kind of plays in, and for me, I love the cute, tiny beautiful things. It helps me think about too, what is the role of a mushroom and fungus in the ecology and stuff, because that's something I never knew before I hunted mushrooms. I just didn't think about it.
I'm taking a stab at it, but it's to break materials down.
Right, everyone thinks, okay, mushrooms, dirty decomposers, that's what you hear about, but that's not all that they do. There are some mushrooms that do that, obviously. They're decomposers. There are some that have specialized relationships with like plants and tree roots, and so they're actually like passageways to connect information and to also pass nutrients around.
Okay.
So like you think about an old growth forest and you think about the little tiny baby trees, they don't get enough sunlight to photosynthesize, but it's the fungal networks, it's the mushrooms that are passing nutrients from big trees to baby trees. So all sorts of things like that. Yeah, so it's like they're life givers as much as they're like decomposers and dealing with the crap on the
Question for myself. I have seen some of these patches of chanterelles and morels in the past.
Yeah.
I don't pick them because, again, I'm paranoid. So
good to have a little bit of that.
It is, but it's also good to leave it for folks that really appreciate it, much like yourself, right? What happens, say this beautiful mushroom right here, chanterelle.
Yes, good job.
What happens if it doesn't get picked? Does it just deteriorate and just disappear?
It does.
Does it regrow right where it was before, maybe from the spores that were on it, or?
No, so it does just kind of decompose back into the soil. This is just the fruit of the whole organism, right? So fungus is the whole organism. It's under the ground, it's within the trees. Mycelium, if you've heard that term, is kind of the name for like the root-like system. It's the fungus. So this is just the fruit. This is just like the apple or the berry. So if it just stays, it would just be like an apple would fall off the tree and rot, or the berries would just rot, or something along those lines. So it won't grow back in the exact same spot. It does release its spores out into the woods so that you can, you know, hopefully get more the next year. But yeah, not to say also when you are picking this, you're only picking the fruit. You're not destroying a whole entire organism, which is great to understand that, because you're not going out.
Very important.
You're not going out and like plucking a whole tree. You're just taking the fruit.
So if you can come back, and that's my next question would be, so year after year, you can go back to roughly the same area and find those mushrooms again?
Some mushrooms,
Some, okay.
Some mushrooms. Some of them won't return year after year. It depends on what type of relationship they have in the forest.
I gotcha.
Yep.
Old forest, new forest, in between, is there a preference? Or
my favorite is old, because you're going to find species that are more rare and things you don't see too often. But it does depend on mushroom. There are some mushrooms that like disturbed areas and they tend to grow there, and then there are others that like the older forest. I think as far as edible mushrooms go, mid to old growth is usually the most fruitful for the variety of edible fungus that you're looking for.
Some questions. I can do this because it's Facebook Live.
Okay, very good. Going in wintertime, they're watching now, and it's beautiful weather again. What would they be going out and primarily finding? What would be the largest population of mushrooms that would be available?
Alright, so chanterelle season is kind of winding down. You're probably not going to find much of those anymore. Bear's Head will still be growing strong for another couple of weeks. Matsutake you can probably still find for another week or two in prime condition. There's a mushroom called the hedgehog mushroom. Very easy for beginners to learn, and that will go through the winter and sometimes even in the spring. Kind of like overwinters in a way. So that is another mushroom to get to know. It's delicious, easy to ID, and people don't give it enough, praise.
Really? They don't give it enough props.
Hedgehog mushroom, yeah.
Hedgehog.
So that's a good one to learn.
Looking at hedgehog, we got a question here from Ken Reed. What about truffles?
What about truffles? All right, so I have found truffles before. I don't make it a practice to go look for truffles because I don't have a dog or a pig.
Oh, to stiff them out because they're under the ground.
Yep, they're underground. So you can find them on your own. You just have to know how to look for them. The only problem is with humans doing it is we're not going to always be picking the ripe ones. And sometimes there's a little more damage done to the soil. So we talked about the fungal networks underneath, and if you're just digging, you're, kind of disturbing those fungal networks. If you have a dog or a pig or some animal,
they just find it.
They hone into the very ripe ones, you dig that one spot,
you
and
do
there you
know
go.
that there's an app that you can put on your iPhone and just...
Right, I wish.
Half a second she was like...
What kind of app? I am invested in these goggles. They're like kind of like infrared goggles, and then to be able to look at the fruiting bodies of mushrooms in different genus will show up different colors. I'm so joking.
Okay, she actually had me. That was awesome. You just got me worse than I was trying to get you.
Sweet.
Dave Calhoun's watching?
Hey Dave.
How the hell is Dave watching? You're supposed to be hunting elk.
Yeah, I was gonna say, aren't you out in the woods right now? Like we just saw you a second ago.
Oh, so many ways I could go with that right now. Okay, let's see. Let's find some more questions here.
But one other thing about truffles, they're delicious, they're wonderful. The Oregon truffle scene is starting to rival the French truffle scene, so
Really?
get on it.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So train some dogs.
Yeah.
You never know.
So,
I mean, I love my dog for lots of different things. Why can't you do that?
Yeah.
Can you show a chanterelle up close
Yeah.
and sideways? Probably the best thing to use would be the Oregon Tackle Tech Cam.
Can we
So
do
they'll
that right
give you
now?
a shot right here.
I don't know if Cole's on there or not.
And
Actually, I'm
You're
cutting.
gonna have to point at which one it is.
the one she's cutting.
Cutting it.
There you go.
Okay,
Okay.
let me know. Good enough?
Yeah, I
Just
think
hold
so.
it
If you just hold your
steady.
hands right there,
There we go.
there you go. And that question was actually from Mark. Thanks, Mark, for your
Here,
question.
hold this.
Okay,
And hold it close to this.
gotcha.
Okay. No.
Oh.
Just like that.
Okay, oh, gotcha.
Okay, so this mushroom has very fine gills. The gills are long, deep, and radiating and uniform. This mushroom, the chanterelle, does not have those type of gills. They're wobbly, veiny, and shallow. So there you go. That's
Gotcha.
one characteristic. Also, chanterelles, very white on the inside and solid. They're not going to be hollow at all.
Interesting.
So there you go. Just
So
a few
it's all meat.
characteristics. It is all meat, and it's very heavy and very dense. Some of the stuff that might look like a chanterelle, a lot of those things are going to be thinner or hollow, and just they're not going to have that weight in your hand.
Gotcha.
So use all of your senses when you're mushroom hunting. Weight in your hand, the texture, the feel, the smell. That's all part of it.
Here's one from Greg says, I have heard squirrels like truffles
Yeah.
and can lead you to them.
Yes, they can.
Okay. Now, if
They're
you've ever been
animals.
around a trained squirrel, I have.
Yeah.
Super cool animal. All right. Now, if you could train messy, if you could train one to work for you, that'd be awesome.
It would be, and that's how us humanoids sometimes can go and find truffles, because you can find little diggings and shavings where little rodents have been getting into those truffles.
And eating them?
Yeah, that's how they truffles. That's why they smell so pungent. They want to be eaten. They're basically sending off like these pheromones of like eat me, and so the animals and rodents eat them, and they poop, and the spores are in the poop, and there you go.
And that's how they move themselves around.
Yep.
It's like bees and pollen, just
Exactly.
smellier. The best way that I
In
can
all
put
sorts
it.
of ways.
Will I find pine mushrooms in the same spots as chanterelles?
You can. And by pine mushroom, it's the matsutake, I'm assuming is what they're talking about, because pine
Lots of
mushroom...
pine needles all over that.
There are. But the common name pine mushroom is actually used for this mushroom in a whole different species called Alactarius. It's a totally different mushroom. It's kind of orange colored. Anyways, so common names, careful. Pine mushroom, I'm assuming they mean matsutake. And yes, I have found them in the same areas. But sometimes all it is like a slight shift. Like I can go 100 yards down the road, have matsutake in one spot, 100 yards down the road, and maybe it's just a slight elevation change or a moisture kind of change in the soil, and find the next. So they can be in close proximity and sometimes overlapping.
Elevation comes up a little bit
Yeah.
in our short conversation. It's come up 3 or 4 different times.
Yep.
Different species, are they more apt to be up high, like say morels down low and then maybe
Right.
chanterelles up high, or is there
Right.
vice versa?
Yeah, so different species will tend to go towards different elevations, and then they kind of have an elevation travel pattern. So it's kind of like, in the spring comes down low first, and then the mountains get the spring later in the summer.
Sure.
So the same in the fall, fall starts up high and then kind of scoots down low. So you can kind of chase the mushrooms that way, but then also have specific mushrooms that like certain elevations as well. Us being the Pacific Northwest, we kind of have 2 main regions though, because you have the coastal and then you have the Cascades.
Right.
So like in general, the porcini, which is like one of the king mushrooms out there, is actually called the king bully a lot of times.
Porcini?
Porcini.
Okay.
Also known as little piggies.
Right.
They have a great coastal range. You can find them right on the coast,
Uh-huh.
but then you're gonna get them as more of a higher elevation mushroom up in the Cascades. So you have to kind of look at those 2 regions separately.
Interesting.
In a way.
Lots of information, really. And is there a lot of ways to find information out there? One question that we have here
Yeah.
from Brian Davis is tips for mushroom hunting with kids. Is there
Oh, yeah.
ways that you can find lots of information out there, specifically with getting the kids out?
Beginner information is hard to come across, and which is one reason why I actually started creating resources for it, why I
Sure.
started teaching, and why I started approaching this from an educational point of view.
And started your YouTube.
Yep,
page.
exactly, because beginner info is a little hard. Even these basic field guides, sometimes it's just like a little bit over your head with the
Sure.
terminology and the science. But as far as getting kids out, I've got 2 kids. I bring them out all the time.
Awesome.
They absolutely love it.
Yeah.
One great thing about mushrooms is you can touch them even if they're toxic. They're not going to hurt you.
Okay.
It's only the ingestion of it that's going to hurt you. So
Mhm.
kids are great. They're close to the ground. And it's like a treasure hunt for them. You know, they love to participate in it. So just going out. Did you have... Oh, my book? Eventually, I will have a book that will actually be catered to exactly that.
Really?
Beginners getting out in the woods and foraging mushrooms, and there'll be a section on there about families and kids and stuff like that.
You heard it here first.
You did, actually.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
GPS is covering all kinds of ground. When is the book going to come out?
Estimated probably next fall.
Next fall.
Mm-hmm.
It's going in wintertime.
Mm-hmm.
When do you say your off time is, and when is the time that you go, it's on? Like, is there ever that time?
A Mother's Day.
Mother's Day.
Mother's Day is usually when morel season is going good. We're
Really?
in the thick of yeah.
So that's when you would say, okay, it's been kind of slow for a while, and now I'm going to get...
Oh, but I can find mushrooms year round. But yes,
Okay.
the main season, yes.
Very good. Well, I'd like to get you in around that time, too.
Sounds good.
Based on the amount of questions, folks are very interested in this topic, and I would assume
Yeah.
that your book is going to do very, very well.
Hopefully. Yeah, a lot of people always say, I've been wanting to learn this for a long time, I just don't know how.
I've got friends that are bonsai, insane bow hunters, and they look forward to the spring when they're going out chasing morels and chanterelles. Another excuse maybe if we actually need one of those to get into the woods. But let's see. Well, it says here, where can I buy your knife?
Open nail.
Open nail?
Open nail. It's a French
nail.
word. Open nail. You can't really even see it on there.
Okay.
OPINEL. Open nail. And
Okay.
it's their mushroom knife. It's
Made specifically for it.
Yes, which I would love to get a customized one. There's a few things I would change, but it's pretty good.
And get a hold of them. What's going on? They're going to know who you are. You probably already know that. Are mushrooms with yellow bottoms poisonous?
No. I like that question though, because people, it's very natural for us to want to categorize and put things into little boxes, like anything with white gills don't eat, or anything with yellow bottoms don't eat.
They're trying to simplify
Nope.
it.
Yep, it's all a puzzle piece. Each mushroom is an individual. Everyone has multiple characteristics. There can be a mushroom that looks almost identical to this, and maybe there are 2 factors that separate this and the toxic look-alike, right? So that's why that's not a beginner one. We talked about that.
Yeah.
Right?
That was one she described very, very cleanly, and it still resonates in my head.
So yellow bottoms
Pay
does
attention.
not, yellow bottoms does not signify edible or toxic. There are mushrooms with yellow bottoms that fall into both categories. Just as with anything else, you can't just blanket statement and be like, if it grows on a tree and it has, white spores, then you can eat it, or you can't.
Sure.
Whatever.
Right.
You just can't do that. You have to learn each one individually.
All right, here's another one. This is from Cassandra. Tips for finding cauliflower mushrooms.
Ooh, that's great. So it's a Spiraceus, this is the genus it comes from, and it grows right at the base of trees. It's a root router, so it's actually in there, rotting the tree away. Right now, if you want to find cauliflower mushrooms, go between 2,000 and 3,000 feet in elevation.
There's elevation again.
Right, exactly, because that's about, right now, this time is now there. Go to forests that have a mix of conifers, Douglas fir in particular, and look right at the base of bigger, more mature trees. Often you'll find them there. What other tips can I give? That's in the Cascades, saying that kind of a range.
So stay away from the coastal.
Right. You can find them in the coastal woods as well, Tillamook State Forest and stuff, but I know for a fact that kind of zone in the Cascades is good for them right now.
Very good. I would not have known that. But I love how you can break it down to the genus, for crying out loud. I mean, you're...
That's part of my job.
I love that. I mean, really. I mean, there's so many things that I've done this for a long time. And, we get stuck here on this show. Not stuck because it's primarily for outdoorsmen, but we always talk about fishing and hunting. And I say fishing, hunting, hiking, biking, whatever it is.
Mushrooming.
Mushrooming has to be in there.
Add it in there.
It has to be. I mean, really, it is so popular.
It is. It's gaining popularity a lot right now, which is why people are craving this kind of information.
Here's one from Rusty. I believe this is a question. Everything's with commas, so forgive me, I'm not up to date on all you young people's punctuation.
I'm not either.
But with commas after each word, it throws me off. Should you cut the chanterelles and leave stems for the next year, and do you do that for other ones as well?
Okay, so this is an age-old question.
Oh, okay. See, look, she's getting excited about this one. All right, I like it. Thank you, Rusty.
Cut versus pluck. Okay, so yeah, this is, do you cut the mushroom and leave the base, or do you pluck the mushroom out? And this applies, yeah, a lot of people ask specifically about the chanterelle and a variety of other mushrooms. I have a great YouTube video that goes more into depth about that was just recently posted maybe a week ago.
Season 2, Episode 2.
Season 2, Episode 2, says brother over in the corner.
The guy that's putting them together, I'm figuring.
Was great. That episode kind of covers the details to it, and specifically with the chanterelle, with the gold chanterelle, often they will grow up in little buddies, in little pairs, and one will be larger than the other. If you just cut the larger one and leave the little one can still mature.
Oh.
So that's a benefit to cutting that specific mushroom, and I think why I get that question about that mushroom. Now, if you cut the whole thing and leave the little stump in the ground, that's not, it's just going to rot. It's not going to actually like grow a new mushroom.
Yeah, it's not gonna
that
shoot up
doesn't
again.
happen.
Okay.
And now, as far as cutting the mushroom or plucking it out of the soil, we talked about the mycelium, the fungal network underground. Again, you're just plucking it like you would pluck an apple off a tree.
Sure.
And it actually, spoiler alert, doesn't matter which one you do.
I like it.
Yeah.
You're learning stuff. Pay attention, everybody. Here's one from David Fox. You know him? Oh, okay. Here's a
I don't.
any tips on how to put up with your videographer? That's obviously
Oh, my little brother.
that's probably an insider there, but we love it.
Tips to put up with him. Just call. I can send you some photos, and then you'll have some blackmail material. How about that?
Sister, brother. Love that.
Coffee. Give him coffee.
Okay, fair enough. Hey, let's get you in here too.
Come here, bud.
I'd like to talk to you because videography doesn't matter what it is you're doing. If you're chasing animals, if you're chasing fruit or mushrooms, is there any tips? And this is actually a serious question. Everybody's very into videography. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Is there any tips that you could share with others that are out there on how to, get that better shot? If it's a still shot, a lot of us when we're talking about fishing and hunting, everything's moving. We got stuff going on. We got lots of things happening.
It's great.
But these things aren't running around like you mentioned. You don't have to chase them, right?
Yeah.
They're right there. Any advice that you can?
I've always said, and this applies to both hunting and hunting mushrooms, if you actually go do that activity and know a little bit about it beforehand, it helps a lot.
Okay, makes sense.
That way you kind of already have an idea of what to look for, what's interesting to people, and also, with
The
mushrooms,
details.
the details.
Yeah.
So
He's much better this season than he was last
yeah,
season.
it makes a big difference
Yeah, experience,
if you've
absolutely,
actually gone
sure.
out and done it. So that's what I'd say. First of all, just go out and do it. Maybe even without the camera. You could bring the camera, but focus on just maybe the actual foraging aspect of it. And then have somebody like Rachel that you can ask what's interesting to
Sure.
people. Sometimes I'll set up by a mushroom and be like, oh, that's good, and she's like, that's not interesting. Let's find out.
Right. Welcome to my world.
But sometimes I'll say, no, this is pretty. We have to shoot it. People
That's
are gonna
true.
like
He,
it.
Yeah,
he
yeah.
does say that.
So you have to do a little bit of back and forth. But that, yeah, for
Cinematic
sure, go out,
aspect.
Yeah,
do
it's
it,
important.
and then maybe focus on the camera itself. The other thing for me is like a lot of people like to have a tripod set up. How often do I bring a tripod? Actually, I bring it in the car. But how often
You
do I take it out?
very rarely.
Rarely, and that's because for me, filming in the outdoors, it's nice to have a steady shot, but I miss so much if I'm having to
Stuck.
set up. I like to be mobile. I like to move and go quickly, so that's what I do. I always go handheld.
Gotcha.
Unless I really need a specific shot, a macro shot that has to be really, really steady.
Anything that you would say is more difficult to do in the field than something else?
Make me look good.
That's a challenge.
Wrong.
Rain, is your biggest nemesis out there,
Which
Okay.
is
which is a problem
Yeah.
during mushroom foraging season. The rain's coming down,
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
keeping your camera equipment and audio equipment dry.
Dry, sure.
And for me, most of the time, that's just me hovering over it.
Yeah.
There are cases you can get, but that really affects the audio and
Yeah.
just being able to get to the buttons. So I honestly let my equipment get a little bit more wet than I should. But
Why can't
it's-
somebody come up with one of those high-end cannons that you guys use that's waterproof?
some of the Canon DSLRs are pretty close to, they're water resistant to a pretty expert level, but the camera I shoot on is a cinema camera, it's not.
Right.
And like I said, I just sometimes let it get wet and say, I hope it works. It's
All right.
worth it if you're getting the shot, in my opinion.
I like you because that is exactly the way a camera guy is supposed to think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sacrifice everything to get the one
If you
kill
get a
shot,
good
the one shot, the
you know-
money shot.
You know that the card's going to be good, so if the
Yeah.
camera's dead, oh well.
But didn't
Yeah,
you
fair
dump
enough.
one in the Snake River camera one time?
Yeah, it was a cheap camera though.
Oh, okay.
And we
That's
do
the
have,
excuse,
and I
right?
have a bunch of GoPros, and those are my, real crash dummy ones.
Right, right, right.
In fact, we have her carry around one sometimes when she's out on her own.
I don't like it, but I'm getting used to it.
Well, you got used to it.
I
It's
know.
the way the world's working, unfortunately. Not unfortunately, I should say, but it is definitely going that way. Okay, here's one from Brian. It says, can you show the underside and inside of bear's head?
Sure.
Also, how do you cut it down for cooking?
Oh, sweet.
Great question.
Yeah.
And we'll end up using the Oregon Tackle Tep Cam here too, Cole.
Okay, cool.
That's the big one over here.
Right.
The one that you don't get the motion for.
I have had this, and it is really good.
Really, really.
So
good.
if you
Mhm.
you look at the back here, it's kind of flat. That's where it was attached to the log. So it's attached like that. So you kind of slice it off there. When you're going to prep it, sometimes I actually use scissors instead of a knife. It's a little bit easier, but it pulls apart pretty easy.
Wow. How long ago did you pick this?
This one was about 6 days ago,
6
I think.
days.
But, I
Is
mean,
there a
it's still
timeline that
fresh.
you let them rest after you pick them?
No, you don't have to let them rest, but I mean, 6 days is probably maximum. I want to have it in the fridge.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So,
So-
today you're going to go home and have some bear's head.
Yeah. I have more too at home.
I know.
It's
I mean,
been a good
I get it.
year. So I just break it apart in pieces about this size, bite-sized pieces. Just like that. You don't want to crowd your pan too much because this is going to release a lot of water. And when it releases a ton of water, but the mushrooms are going to be more like steaming and therefore going to be chewy and slimy. You don't want steamed mushrooms. You want nice mushrooms that still have some decent texture to them. So about this size is great. And yeah, just putting those in the pan, dry sauteing it. You want to see the inside. It doesn't look a whole lot different.
Now, in any
But we
way, are
don't
you
wanna-
hurting this mushroom for the table fare at all?
Right now, no.
Okay.
So there we go. There's kind of the inside. So it does have a bit of a base.
Wow, look at all the moisture
there.
still in there, for crying out loud.
Right. So yeah, even though this was picked 6 days ago, it was
Yeah.
picked on a day that was fairly rainy. So, so this base section here, it's gonna cook at a different rate than these smaller pieces. So you have to either cook it separately, or a friend of mine recently actually decided to dehydrate this, and he is going to be using it in a mushroom stock later on.
Interesting.
So a lot of mushrooms can be preserved that way, drying them and making stocks out of them afterwards. So you can use this and then do that separately, just because it's so much thicker and it's just not going to cook the same. So that's kind of the inside. White,
Very cool.
firm.
Let's see, this is, I gotta read this one. Owen's really letting the bear's head leave with... Yeah, I'm letting it leave with her. One of my questions is, I always ask, what do you think your odds are getting out of here with that? And in this case, her odds are really good. She'll appreciate it.
I think it scares him.
I don't know if you know what, I'd admit that. Yeah, I admit that.
It's good to have a little bit of a fear.
Well, and I think that for everybody, if you're watching and you're like myself, if maybe this is something that you'd like to get into, nether opportunities to get out there, get the kids, get the friends, whatever it is, you just make sure you get your information ahead of time. Communicate with folks like Rachel, others if there are any, but just make sure that you're on the right page and that you find the right stuff so you have a great experience when you get out there and have fun. And with the kids side of it, like you mentioned, you have a couple of kids, as long as you can have fun, doesn't matter what the heck you're finding.
Yeah.
As long as they're out there having fun, getting dirty, which is okay, everyone.
Totally.
Let the kids get dirty.
Go get
It's
dirty.
okay. Please let them get dirty. Throw these things away for a while and let them have some fun. But that's our time. That's already nearly a half hour that we were talking about this. Like you had mentioned, she can go in and do a 15-minute seminar, and an hour later she's like, oh, we're still going. Lots of great information, and by all means, look her up on YouTube. Check out her YouTube page, or YouTube channel, excuse me, Yellow Elanor.
But my name is Rachel,
What did I
not Elanor. No, you said it right, but I always need to clarify. People think my name is Elanor. You're doing
If I would
fine.
have called her by the wrong name, I would have shot myself in the head.
You're fine.
Okay,
No,
thank
sorry, I just didn't throw that out there. I'm not Elanor, I'm Rachel.
Very good, very good. I'm sure the question will come up, well, where did Yellow Elanor come from?
Tolkien, Lord of the Rings, Lothlorien. That's all you get.
Very interesting woman here. But hey, thank you very much for coming, and we really appreciate it. It was nice meeting you. Rachel, it was a pleasure
Thank you.
meeting you.
Yes.
And I hope that we can get you in here again, and maybe around that springtime, talk
Sounds
about some specific other topics as well.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Anyway, everyone take care, and thanks for coming in, and look forward to getting you back in here again.
Sounds great.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
And there you have it. I didn't do too bad. All right. So if live session on YouTube is something you'd be interested in, leave a comment, like this video, share this video, subscribe. Also, hello if you're brand new from watching me on the morning show on Saturday. Welcome. I hope that you learn a lot about mushrooms and fungi from being here. All right. I'll see you guys later.